Alright, everybody. Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, fuzzies of all ages. This is the How to Bring Out the Character Out of Your Fursuit panel. If we may introduce ourselves, my name is Kira Tora. I am on staff here at GLFC. I have been a fursuiter for about 4 years now, and I also have been Easter Bunny for the past 3 years. And my lovely co-host.
My name is Sharpe. I'm a fursuit maker and a fursuit performer of 5.5 going on 6 years performing. I've done monster movies, I've done public performances, special effects. I'm here this year as the fursuiting guest of honor. And we are here to help you learn the do's and don'ts of a lot of things, as well as how to bring the best of you and your character out. Help make yourself stand out.
So let's start with the very basic thing. It's basic movement. Now, obviously, a lot of you, when you commission a fursuit, you have a good idea of how your character's going to look. You know, how the expression, you know, size of everything. But I will tell you a couple things. One, there are many. Before we really dive into all of this, really, there are as many ways to be a fursuiter as there are stories in the family. Like there are so many ways for you to portray the character that you have created or you've gotten off to somebody, as is the case with me and Bunny.
The nice thing about pantomiming is it doesn't matter what language you speak. A hug, is open to all languages. You can have an entire conversation through body language, hand motions, expressions, all this other stuff, without even speaking a word.
So, since we're going to pantomime, we'll start with a few basics that a lot of fursuiters should know when they are fursuiting. The most common one, which I think if you fursuit for any length of time, is this.
Hi.
It's warm.
If you see a fursuiter doing this, don't be like, oh hey, I totally want your picture, hang on. No, just one more, hang on. No, if a person is overheating, they need to get someplace. And that brings up something I want to bring up really quickly right now. If you are overheating, it doesn't matter where you are. Your safety and your health is most important. If you need to pop your head and ruin the magic, if you can get around a corner, go for it. If not, don't chance the risk.
Yeah, the only time it's really acceptable to break the magic is if your own safety is in danger or someone else's safety is in danger. Like if someone, if a fellow fursuiter has passed out and you normally don't talk. I don't, doesn't matter, find the nearest, person to get help for that.
There's no golden rule that says a fursuiter cannot speak. If it is a silent suitor and something is going wrong, nobody will think lesser of you if you need to break the magic and speak anything. Do it. Just want to get that out right now.
Yes. So obviously we've covered the, obvious I'm hot. There is also, alternatively, I use this a lot as the Easter Bunny, is doing this, which means I'm thirsty, I need a drink. And there's also, since a lot of fursuiters don't have pockets or, timepieces, usually going like this means, asking for the time. And another thing that, I haven't adopted this myself, but it is a good idea, when you go out suiting, if you have a handler with you, arrange some kind of distress signal. It could be a physical thing, like I know at Disney World, some of the characters, if there's something wrong, they'll cover their eye like this, and they put their hand up in the air, and that's the sign to their handler to say, if something is going on, I need to figure out what's going on. And it could also be some sort of vocal signal as well, just depending on your character, whichever would be more appropriate for the setting. I know in my case, if someone were bothering me and I just, be pitiful and go, yeah, okay.
So going into some other pantomimes, less emergency, because the emergency ones are not only for other suitors around you, but to your handler or to maybe medical personnel that might need you. But again, there's always the hug. There's, do you want to take a picture? Things like that.
Holding a hand out like this, especially if it's a child. Exactly, just like that.
Just like that. Thank you. Going into children really quick. I know we're going to touch on public suiting a little bit later. One thing I'm going to double over multiple times. If you're around children and you have a child coming up to you, drop down to their level. Don't ever pick a child up. Don't ever pick a child up. And if you're taking pictures with a child, have both of your hands visible at all times.
Yeah.
Yes, and I always, and especially for me, I always try to have them off to the side. So if I'm down like this, the child is over here, so that's kind of out of the danger zone.
You can have your hands crossed over, not near the child anywhere.
Yep.
Heaven only knows I haven't heard the horror stories of a mascot who's had, been near the child. They might have had their hand on their shoulder or something, and the parents freak out. There's a giant lawsuit, big mess. Worst case scenario, but it's usually.
This isn't to say that this is going to happen to you, but it's good to just kind of be protected
Yes.
and make sure.
Ounce of prevention is always one of the happen.
Don't be afraid of children.
Unless it's a pack of them in your mom.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I don't wear my fursuit to family gatherings anymore.
So,
yeah.
emotions?
Yeah, let's go. Well, I was gonna go with different. Well, two emotions.
So obviously, since your face is being hidden behind a mask and that can't be seen, you have to translate it then into your body. Whether it's hunched over and just kind of drag your feet if you're really tired, or hey, if you're really excited, you have to express that action in your face through your entire body. But don't overkill yourself. If you're doing this all the time, you're gonna burn out.
Yes.
Pace yourself.
There are many, when it comes to building your character's, what I like to call the move set, there's always a few things I like to start. I start with like a resting position. This is something that, if you're standing around, maybe you're waiting for somebody, or you're,
Call it an idle position.
what's that?
Idle position.
Yeah, the idle position. Basically, don't lock your knees, keep them loose. This is a pretty general one that works for like any species, any kind of suitor, just kind of loose.
Weight transfer and everything like that, it not only keeps you moving, but it keeps your legs and your muscles from locking up. So if you've been really active and you just kind of stand there for a bit, your muscles tend to seize up. And so when you go to move again, it's like,
Yeah, but there's something around, looking around. That's your character's nature. So if that's your idle pose. So now there's other approaches when it comes to your character. Some are going to work better than others for different people. One way, the most common way that a lot of suitors in the fandom do is observing animals that their characters are based off of. So, like I know you have the weasel, the ferret, and you mentioned just observing a lot of the character behavior.
so if your character is a very species-specific character, it's not a bad idea to go on YouTube and watch for characteristics that they might do, or
Mannerism.
There you go.
Yay!
certain mannerisms that they might do. Ferrets, they tend to jump around, kind of just, kind of sneak up, be like steal and run off, other little things like that. Dogs, they might do other things different. You don't have to be exactly species specific, but it'll give you a nudge in the right direction if you're not sure where you want to take your character. Because you can start off with base things and just play around with it until you start to feel out what your character might actually be like.
Wow.
And if for some reason you start observing and you start working with something and it's just not feeling right, don't be afraid to go the opposite direction. Like for example, Money is a Rottweiler. Rottweilers have this reputation of being fierce, dogs. Although don't tell my neighbors Rottweiler that. But Money is a little different. Money is just a curious little puppy, very friendly, always wants to go up, wave at people, even if they flip them off. That actually just happened. But anyway. So instead of going I'm sorry. Sorry, can you speak up please? I didn't hear that. Oh, I'm sorry. So that's one way. Now, maybe if you have a hybrid character, then that's a little bit different. I mean, you can obviously pull from both species, but it's up to you, like whether if you want it to be more one way or more another way. Like, for example, I have a character that I want to get a fursuit made of, who's a hyena dragon hybrid. Now, he's gonna be there's obviously more dragon than hyena, but there's still mannerisms of the hyena, like he's gonna have like a sort of like high-pitched hyena laugh, even if his body is mostly like dragon. So, and if you're not sure one way or the other, pick one species, try to tilt it more one way. If it doesn't work, try the other way. Just keep working with it. Honestly, every time I put on this fursuit, I try to do something different. I try to go out there, what's still working, what's not working anymore, all sorts of things. Now, I know there are characters that don't necessarily have real life counterparts. And this is where kind of go more non-traditional route with assembling character movesets. Most of my experience when it comes to performing in masks, it actually comes from college. I took a course in masking movement. So I worked with like half masks that cover part of my face and leave my mouth open for talking. I worked with full masks that I couldn't talk at all. And there's one method of movement that I think works really well. It's called viewpoints. Now, there's 6 viewpoints altogether, but the 2 that are most relevant to fursuiting pertain to time and space. Now, the first one being with time, obviously that can do with the pace of your character. Is your character kind of a slower, maybe look a little older if they're moving that slow, or if they're a younger one, are they just like really fast movements, quick movements, that sort of thing. And with space, it's also how much space do you take up, do you have big movements whenever you do anything, or just like really small, looking around, timid, that sort of thing. And those are things you can actually move off of, again, just experiment,
A lot of times you're going to want to wear your fursuit a lot, because some people might have a large tail, large wings, large feet, large ears like I have on Bones.
Find a large mirror.
When you first get your fursuit on, you're going to want to figure out the different angles for the different expressions. Even static-eyed suits, like our dear Lifrin back here, you can get different expressions depending on how you turn the head. But it also depends on how you turn the body and everything else. So if you're in suit for a while, it not only helps you build up your heat endurance, but it also
shucks, you have to wear your fursuit.
But it also helps it break in, as well as you learn your boundaries, where everything is, and all this other stuff. And you also learn your own limits. Because I know a lot of people will get into a suit, they're like, oh hey, this isn't too bad. And they get outside and they die. Because they're not ready, they're not prepared. Because a fursuit, it's kind of like wearing a couch. And a lot of times, it includes the padding with them. The cushions with them.
Oh yeah.
So you've got it fun over there.
Yep, and a good way to kind of figure out, there's a couple ways you can go with this. Obviously, when you first put the fursuit head on, look in the mirror. That's the easiest one to do. Also, you can, if you're out doing, fursuiting, getting pictures taken, check the pictures. Because I know with with Bunny's head, he's got tear duct vision. And for a while, whenever I would look at the camera, it would look like he was looking down and not at the camera. So when I realized that, obviously, it's like I gotta remember to kind of look like this. So the tear ducts are right here, I'm looking out, his eyes are right here, looking at the camera.
That reminds me, if any of our suitors at any time in here needs water, just raise your hand.
Give away or just run back there.
Yes.
Either or.
I don't want any of my suitors getting too overheated.
No. Bad. And while we're still on the basis of movement, there's one thing I've noticed that doesn't really get utilized enough when it comes to fursuiting is the head. It is the most distinctive part of a fursuit. It's often the But yeah, the most underutilized Actually, since I'm drug maybe I'll drive you money. The most underutilized part is the head. Because a lot of times, you see people who are just, maybe they're talking, they're barking or whatever, they're just, their head is static. And it's not really interesting. But if, anyway.
Right. As you can see there, a large portion of it is sometimes just your interaction with other people. It's acting, or even, like when he puts the thing on her head, he's not acting anything.
Like stillness and movement can really inform your character. And I also mentioned the head.
Still, it comes up.
That's a bit more active than just, it's more interesting. Like, especially we mentioned, different expressions. When you move the head, you go,
The suit is an extension technically an extension of your own body. So any vocalizations you choose to do, any vocalizations you don't choose to do, having a perfectly silent character is perfectly fine. I know there's a lot of people that are getting into the twittering and chirping with our dear telephone. We've all heard, yeah? Raise a hand, yeah? I know a lot of people will either get squeakers or they'll do other things. Who here has heard somebody do this? Oh God, it hurts.
You sound like a gym floor.
I have never, ever heard an animal, unless it's a dog that you've stepped on, it's going. I've never heard an animal do that. You can exaggerate your movements with a twitter and a chirp if you are using some kind of mouth call or speaker. For the love of everything fuzzy and good, please do not speaking. You will drive yourself and everybody around you mad.
Moderation and squeaking. That should be the new motto.
This is going to be hilarious because it's a shepherd squeaking, but it'll be. Instead of doing rapid succession Gatling gun squeaks, or one long drawn out squeak, because you are not a squeaky toy that's being stepped on. You're trying to accentuate your character. So I do this with my blade skin, not trigger. Oh dear. No.
You can also do things that are like not characteristic of, say, enlarge, imposing. That's not common.
I get that out there.
You can do something with atypical of your character to make something funny or to accentuate something.
It's more of a responsive, reactive noise rather than continual continuation. Let your body do most of the talking. If you are planning on doing some kind of noise with it, let it be more of a, let it be more of a responsive. Let it be more of a responsive reaction, like you would normally. Like, hey, what was that for? And then just let the rest of your body do the talking. It'll make for a lot more interactive environment, as well as a less of a headache, because there are a lot of people that you might not know about that come around and will have a noise sensitivity, and that high of a screech repetitively will give them migraines, will put them through episodes. There was one person I knew that actually would induce a kind of seizure effect if they had such a loud noise so long near them. So you always want to be considerate of the noise you're making around other people. Talk about it.
I can imagine. Now, if you're one of the characters, you know, some people feel, oh, you don't have a stag, if you have a stag jaw, you shouldn't really talk. Well, that's up to you. And as I mentioned with the head movements, if you do it right, it takes away from the fact that you have a static jaw. Now, if you have a moving jaw and you want to actually talk, and this is a tip I actually heard from some professional voice actors. If you are adopting a voice that is not your natural voice for your fursuit, pick either a monologue or a sonnet written by Shakespeare. Read it in that character's voice and keep reading it until you cannot drop to your natural voice. Now I haven't mastered quite what Faust is going to look like because he is going to be a talking suit. I'm kind of thinking like a Brooklyn accent, but I can't really do it very well. But that is a very, like when I say a monologue from Shakespeare, it doesn't have to be a huge thing. Like a sonnet's only 14 lines, and you can probably get away with just a 10-line monologue and just work with that. And the reason I say Shakespeare is because a lot of it is metered. It's iambic pentameter, so there's a rhythm when you talk. It might not seem like that at first, but once you actually talk it, read it over and over and over, the meter comes out, the rhythm comes out, and eventually the voice that you want will follow.
When it comes to also doing emotions in your fursuit, again, whether you're speaking or if you're not, do the emotion on your face. If you're happy, your body will naturally react to some happy pose. If you're sad, try to visualize something sad. There's a lot of things your body, your hands, that you don't realize do, that your face does, that comes in correlation. Like if you're mad, you're automatically, depending on what kind of anger you do, you're automatically gonna go, you're gonna tense up. If you visualize that expression in your face, and if you make noise, like with an alcohol or a squeaker, it's going to, in a way, translate into that, and it'll bring more of a believable aura around the character. Because these things, they're just specialized, fancy pajamas. It's just a glove. It's you inside being the soul to this character, bringing it to life. If you yourself are not alive, the character won't be alive. You can have the most drop-dead gorgeous, adorable, $10,000 whatever suit, but if it's just kind of like sitting there.
Yeah, if the costume's wearing you and instead of you wearing the costume, it's you're not using the full potential of something you probably either spent a lot of time or a lot of money on. Now, since you mentioned emotions, if I could actually get some volunteers, I have like a brief, kind of like a good emotional workshop. You here in the front, and we can get a couple. We can get actually.
Lifrin, I think, is one.
Lifrin, you can get up here up front. Okay.
Backstage time.
Okay, so what we're going to do for this brief exercise, I could do this a long time, but we're going to keep this short because we do have an hour and a half, but I don't want to keep you all too long. So we're going to just have you guys start just walking around the room. Just your natural character's walk. If you haven't figured out a character's walk, just walk anyway. Walk around the room. See what it's all
Lifrin.
Watch that tail, Lifrin. I've seen you not do things like that. Wow. Okay, so you guys are walking around.
Ignore Lifrin, he is still now. He is being a good.
Yes. But the thing is, as you're walking around, you catch a smell. A very delectable smell. It is the smell of bacon. That's the smell of bacon. And believe it or not, the bacon is somewhere in this room.
Find the bacon.
Find the bacon.
Now.
Yes. Start looking around. Please do not try to hurt anything or break anything while you are looking for the bacon. I especially need you, right? It's very sensitive over there. Okay. Okay, have you guys found the bacon yet? It's down here somewhere. You haven't found the bacon yet?
Did anybody notice the character change?
No.
Going from walking
No, it's not me. I'm not the bacon.
Especially that fussy over there.
Let's see. Where was that? Oh, guys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, that was not correct. There is no bacon.
Bacon was a lie.
The bacon was a lie. And I will tell you why there was no bacon. Because Pizza Wolf ate it. Pizza Wolf, I would start running if I were you.
Who here can tell me the expressions that they have caught recently? Shout them out.
Shout out. Yeah.
Surprise.
Surprise, yes.
Anguish.
Okay.
Yes, especially.
What else?
Curiosity.
Curiosity.
Yes.
Frustration.
Frustration.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
What's that?
6 feet long.
Okay.
Long
Okay.
going up. Yeah, they're
You guys are like this now. Thank you for volunteering.
Stop laughing.
Violent confrontation and nuts.
Okay. Got those.
So what did you guys namely? Let's go with the curious that was shouted out. What characteristics did you notice that read curious?
Yes, back there.
Rapid head movement from side to side.
You're looking around really fast? Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Kind of the head movement, but
Searching for it.
Yeah.
Yes, like I mentioned, head movement. Again, it's something that's really underutilized, but it can really bring out a character. Just even
Yes.
just the head move. That's all you do. Sniffing. Oh, nice.
Anything else?
Like a crouched body.
Crouch
Yeah.
by, yes.
Ooh. Looking in completely illogical places.
Yes, I like that. That was sniffed at.
So you guys pretty much saw. You couldn't see their face, but you knew what the emotion was.
Yes.
I'm almost tempted.
What?
Lifrin, can I borrow you again?
Okay.
Okay.
Pull you away, far away so they can't hear you.
Oh, yes. Try to do it without sound.
Now you guys need to figure out what his emotion or emotions are.
Any guesses? Any guesses?
Like dirt.
I don't know if derp counts as an emotion, but nice try.
excitement.
He lit some dynamite, I think. Panic!
Panic.
Pain!
His curl's on fire.
Intoxicated?
Myself on fire.
Is dead an emotion?
Dead.
I think it's more of a state of being, or not being.
Dead is more of a
So
state.
panic was part of what I was going. Oh, that's all.
Well,
First time I didn't try them out very well.
that's alright.
That's pretty just what we got nuts. That was- sorry. So what I was trying to have him instill was panic, frenzy, worry, bomb in the room, and it's about to go off. Kind of got close. We did it.
Yeah, he had panic in there, you know, he had
But would you guys have understood what he was trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit?
a little bit, yeah.
If like you guys saw him running through, you probably would have followed a little bit worried. So the message would have
Yeah. Still there, yeah. Okay, so we covered.
Either that or it's an acting.
Well, I will actually, if I want to backtrack a little bit, I mentioned how your fursuit head can inform that. This also goes to some, like, if your fursuit has some sort of disadvantage. Like, when I wear money, my vision is literally this. I have extremely narrow, limited vision. And because of that, instead of being like, oh, you know, my vision sucks, I can't do anything, I incorporated it in character. So since I have to look around a lot to see where I'm going so I don't run into people or things, it makes someone curious. You know, it's like, oh, he's a curious puppy. So now he's like, you know, looking around, you know, waving to people.
Incorporate your disadvantages and turn them into your advantage.
Exactly.
Bring them into the character. With Blaziken, another suit that I have, the vision is on the sides, and since it's a fire chicken, I will literally have to chicken eye it, so to speak, to be able to see. Everything about that head puts it in the character, because I have to turn my head to see And eventually I just kind of added it to the character. So I got to be looking around and not look like an idiot.
Any questions so far about movement, about pantomime, about vocals?
Different.
Cookie.
We were not promised cookies.
You ate them all. You ate them all last night, remember?
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. Remember the apple pie?
What?
Do you remember the apple pie?
Apple pie.
They got it so drunk you didn't remember.
Oh, jeez.
Oh no.
That's not good.
Yes.
No questions so far?
Any other
Question.
No questions at all?
We do not
Otherwise, why
write,
you
we
come
promise.
here?
And your faces are not being recorded, only your voices.
It's okay.
So they can't see the deadpan expressions you made.
Exactly.
Okay, well, if we don't have any questions thus far, I believe we can move on to suiting prep. Now, obviously, when you get as hot as sweaty as it is when you throw on basically the equivalent of a rug onto your body and run around for 3+ hours, depending on what your event is and so on and so forth, you're going to need to prepare because this is more or less exercise. A lot of sweat comes out.
Some of
A lot-
these suits are not really all that light. Some suits can easily be 10 to maybe 30 pounds extra on your body, and they become more heavy as the day progresses because your body is sweating. Do you need water?
You are.
Okay.
You're fanning yourself when we were concerned. So,
Because your body is putting out a lot of moisture, the moisture is going through whatever undergarments you might be wearing, and it's being stored into padding, fur, or wherever else, and they will become heavier as the day progresses.
So it's part of getting to know your suit and yourself and preparing yourself and your limits.
I have not had a problem with that thing.
you too. So there are a few things when it comes to, we're going to discuss like before we start suiting. Yes, we have to consider what we wear underneath the suit. Contrary to what one of my former coworkers said, I am not naked under this. I wore this to work for Halloween once, and they asked if I was naked, and I was very much not. I had wished I'd worn something else other than jeans and t-shirt that day, but no.
Okay, so the thing with underclothing is, despite what a lot of people say, being naked is probably one of the worst things that you could possibly wear or not wear underneath the suit. The next step will be cotton. Namely because putting your bare skin against this fur, you're going to be directing the oils that's on your body directly to the backing of the fur. This fur these are just plastic fibers. While the backing will be fine, the very base coat of your fur fiber is going to be absorbing that oil, and the one thing that fights against plastics is oil. Oil will eat away at plastics, and if you're always naked underneath your suit and you don't take care of it, you're going to have fur coming out in clumps, and that cannot be replaced. If your suit starts doing that, your suit is ruined. And however many thousands of dollars you've spent on these, they get very expensive, and it's a very easy way to kill your suit.
Which is why generally most fursuiters, when they do go suiting, usually get Under Armour or some sort of similar items, anything that basically wicks away moisture from your skin. Now there are some people who might disagree with that idea, being that the sweat still just gets on your fursuit anyway, but it is off your skin. It helps you cool down. I do know, aside from like Under Armour, heat gear, which is like short sleeves and shorts, that's a pair that I have for really warm days. Is that?
This is heat gear.
Oh, it's heat
Really
gear.
far, the less
They have
than
long sleeve,
like-
long leg heat gear.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Yes. So those are your options too. I've heard of fursuiters who get like diving suits, like because
The
they're made out of
dive
like
skins?
yep, the dive skins.
Yeah.
And I've also heard, I haven't seen them quite by myself, otherwise I would get some, but like some so what? Well, that too. But I was thinking of some hunters have base layers that that actually mask odor. So aside from you wicks away moisture and you stay smelling fresh. I haven't seen any that I like yet, but it is definitely worth checking out a sporting goods store. Generally, the section is called base layer. They have, I know for sure they have long sleeve. They probably do have short sleeve. They can't take you anywhere.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So the reason why I'm saying no cotton, who's here worn a pair of cotton socks in the summer and they've ended up getting really gross sweaty feet? Be honest.
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a terrible person.
The problem with cotton is it almost makes you sweat more. And it traps the heat, it traps the moisture against you, and it's almost worse than being naked because it's holding all of this against you. You're going to overheat a lot quicker. I've been in this exact suit in 90 degree, 100 degree weather in like 80% humidity with my Under Armour gear on. If I've stayed hydrated, I'm perfectly fine. I've done this for a 5-6 hour long event. I tried it for a single hour event, similar conditions, only with cotton gear underneath. I was dying. I was having to pop my head repeatedly, everything else. What I found with Under Armour is there's the Under Armour heat gear compression, which you'll see weird seams going along it. It's not just for decoration. The compression gear actually helps with muscle fatigue. So it helps your muscles stay active more longer without seizing up Charlie horses, things like that. But that also doubles in with hydration, stretching,
Yes.
and the food that you ingest.
Yes. And if for some reason, for whatever circumstances, you have to wear something that isn't Under Armour, like if you have to wear like a t-shirt and a pair of shorts underneath your fursuit, get a trial size bottle of baby powder and sprinkle it on your sweaty parts, because that will keep you dry just a little longer. You'll still sweat, but it will keep you drier a little longer. And I know that's been very helpful when I went to Anthropon in 90 degree weather. Extremely helpful. Actually, another thing, this is kind of more before you get your fursuit, but if you are considering a fursuit, and get the undergarments first before you make your duct tape dummy, because then you'll have a better idea, especially if you're like me, who, Money is a male character. I'm clearly not a male. So I generally wear a sports bra to make him look to have more masculine chest up here. You know, because one time I did, and it was like, when did Money get boobs? You know, so those are things to think about if you do require something special like that. So now that we have covered clothing, let's talk about food and drink. Now, yes. Question. Yeah. I generally don't have that problem because, as I like to say, my food is fold away for easy storage. But I have considered possibly getting a chest binder in the future. So those are ones I definitely consider if you are more in doubt of time. But anyways, food and drink. Especially covering after you sweat out half of your body weight, after your water weight. Yes. That right there is magical stuff.
One rule of thumb that I found out over the past few years is if I drink one of these before I even get into full suit, I do a lot better, I'm more energetic.
They're only 88 cents at Mike.
I've noticed if I haven't hydrated enough, I'm stiff, I'm lethargic, I can't focus, I'm grumpy, I'm just having a miserable time. And if I start feeling that way after I've been in suit, I know I need to hydrate more. Even at this con, I've noticed I haven't been hydrating enough because of the heat and humidity. It saps your energy very quickly.
Yep, and when you're not hydrated, you can't perform as well as you would like to. Now, for people who maybe aren't keen on Powerade or Gatorade because of artificial colors or some ingredients such as that, one option I tried this past year at our art prize meeting, which is a big, long 7-hour fursuiting through. This past year was 80 degrees, so it was ridiculously warm. I recommend coconut water, but with this caveat, if you drink it while you're fursuiting, have an extra bottle afterwards because that will hydrate you very quickly. And if for some reason coconut water is kind of pricey, but it is definitely worth at least trying. And if for some reason either of those options aren't feasible, there are recipes to make your own Gatorade substitute online. Yes, question.
For anyone who doesn't want the dyes, there is one of the Gatorades, it's a frost that doesn't have.
Oh, it doesn't have
dye.
nine? Okay, yeah, that's good to know.
It is important to notice if you, at any point in time, are in suit and you stop sweating, you have run out of water to sweat. You need to hydrate immediately and take a break.
Yes, or else hospital trips happen and those are not
And
fun.
they will, well,
And
what
the
will
thing
happen is the paramedics will pass out, the paramedics will come, they will cut your shoes off, and you will need it.
Paramedics don't care what you're wearing, whether it's some $1,000 silk suit, whatever, or fursuit or anything else. They don't care what you're in. They care more about your life, and they will, and they have. They will cut across this way, and they will cut across this way, and your suit is gone. It gets thrown away. It's
You'll
gone.
get your shoes back in a bag. That goes for drinking as well. Be reasonable.
Alcohol is not hydration.
Alcohol is not hydration. It does dehydrate you faster. So if you do plan on doing that, make sure you have an alternative source of liquid that is not dehydrating.
And I can promise you, vomit is very gross to remove from a fursuit pen.
That is my biggest fear when I first. That's why I don't really drink at first, because it's like if I haven't done it, and I never want that to happen. It's like as soon as I do, I'll be like, nope, done.
This isn't to say you can't, because obviously there's a lot. But you need to be aware of your own hydration and your own limits at all times. And if you stop sweating, be able to recognize like signs of heat stroke and things like that in yourself and in your handler. Also, be just kind of checking up on the person, make sure they're doing okay, take them out for breaks as often as they need.
Yes, and a couple tips for drinks. If you are drinking water, one, pace how often you drink. Two, it is better to have warm water than to have cold water if you are drinking frequently. I will attest to this. Personal story. It was JFAX 2013, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, it was because I was before Andrew back.
Yeah.
And I had this, 32 ounce bottle, water bottle with a long straw, which are, those are like $3, and I recommend every person get that. We'll get to that in a little bit. And it was an extremely hot day, like I said, 80 degrees. I'm in a suit. I was testing out my Under Armour that I just got, and my reaction is like drinking every 10 minutes. And all the water I got after the first batch that I had was ice cold. After about 5 hours of doing that, I was lying down on the floor under a bench with the worst dehydration headache I will ever have. It's the closest to a hangover I've ever gotten. Yes, question.
One good thing to have is a camel bag, or like some
Yes.
of the one of the models of cooling vests that I was looking at. The vest had a backpack that was the water and ice, and the pump pulled it through. But you also had a straw here that had a 2-way valve on it.
Yep.
So that way you could actually drink out of the water system that's running it through your system as well.
I've done that. If you're not needing to pee while in your suit, you're not drinking enough.
Yes. And
You mentioned that you really need to hydrate when you like wearing a couch.
yes, we did. Yes.
There was a couple years ago at
You
MFF.
need to hydrate.
There was a couple years ago at MFF where at opening ceremonies they actually took thermometers and measured the temperature on the inside of just the fursuit wearer's head. I think cryo was 135 inside his suit.
Something like that. Yeah, he's got like the big, steel, like the sculpted armor in it. And I think Yappy Fox, his is like 120, and his is like more.
It gets really, really hot.
Really hot, really fast. It got that hot within 5 minutes.
Yeah,
So-
that's just standing around being very idle. There are ways to build up your heat endurance. Some of it is how you dress during the summer. Some of it is wearing your fursuit a lot. Just a little bit step by step. Listen to your body and don't push yourself too far. You never want to push yourself too far because too far is potentially hospital. You want this to be fun, not miserable.
Question.
We did that kind of conditioning in the Army as well before they went over to Iraq. Because of the temperatures, you kind of adjust yourself to its conditioning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of water, though, while you're conditioning yourself is required.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a matter of it being not being ice cold, because when you have that much ice cold over a long period of time, which is why I got dehydrated despite drinking so much, is because it takes time. It takes about 15 minutes for your body to take ice cold water and heat it up to body temperature to actually use. And if it's constantly doing that, it can't handle it over and over. It just passes out as extra water. So, like I said, I was drinking all day, drinking water all day, and went home and just had the worst headache in the world.
If you do need to drink cold water, like if it's handed to you and you're starting to overheat, sip it.
Yes.
Sip it, do not gulp it. You will make yourself sick and throw up if you take it too quickly.
Shot your system.
Yes.
And there's one thing if you're not keen on, one of my favorite tips when it comes to taking drinking Gatorade or Powerade on a fursuiting outing, I make ice cubes out of the Powerade, and I put it in with my water bottle. That way I don't have diluted, I don't have diluted Powerade that I don't really like the taste of, but it's still cold, it's still good.
Something to think about after you get out of suit is not only drinking, but you want to build up your electrolytes, you want to build up your hydration, you want to build up your protein that's been lost.
Your potassium, your sodium
Yeah.
as well. Which is why, oddly enough, plain Pringles are a good source. Like just plain it's like don't get anything flavored, especially if you have been suiting a lot, because your body just might not want to have any of it. No, it's still back there.
No.
Nice.
No idea what you're talking about.
So obviously, like I mentioned, plain potato chips are one option. Bananas, especially to get the potassium back up. And basically, when you are eating afterwards, don't eat a lot at once. And that also goes for beforehand. Don't eat a lot at once. Obviously, you still want to eat something because if you first thing on an empty stomach is not at one time. That's a good quick way to get to the hospital.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you go swimming, you don't want to eat and then go right into the pool, or eat like Thanksgiving dinner right after you come out of the pool. It's not very clean.
You want to treat this activity just like you would any other high physical activity.
Yeah, any sort of like athletic activity, really.
So stretching beforehand is also a very good thing to help with muscle fatigue. Stretching during, just moving your legs around a bit, helping your body reset itself and all this other stuff. Shower afterwards. Shower before you get into suit. Shower after you get into suit.
Check out when you get out of suit,
I
right?
don't mean to make this
Yeah.
sound like productivity.
Put your suit on.
Don't take a shower after you've gotten into suit, but after you've gotten out of suit. Because it'll get rid of all the dead skin that's built up, all of the sweat that's built up. It'll help you keep yourself healthier, better, all that other fun stuff. Yes, sir.
The whole point of this thing is that it's supposed to be like fun, right? Like we're supposed to go out and we're supposed to have fun. These are just things to help you to be able to have fun while you're having food and not like pass out and die, because that isn't very fun.
We
So
love
I've
you
been-
guys. We want you guys to be happy and healthy, not on the forehead.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Also, if you guys can stay away from the really high sugars, anything that'll spike your blood sugar up, because of how much of an endurance thing this is, the more sugars you ingest, the harder the crash will be. This also goes for caffeine too.
Yes, because that's a diuretic, and that'll just make you lose water faster.
I was in Scout last MCFC, and I'd been running the dealer's den and everything else, and it was Sunday, and I just closed up shop. I was running on 3 hours of sleep, and somebody gave me a Monster. And I downed the whole thing in about half an hour. And then I got into my ferret suit thinking, hey, this will be great. Lots of caffeine, I'll burn it off in like half an hour in Scout, and it'll be great. No. I had spikes every 5 minutes of caffeine drop. I was absolutely sick to my stomach. If you guys can avoid it, do. That's my head.
Now we covered, food, drink. Let's talk about what should be in every single fursuit coat. First one being obviously your fursuit. If you don't have a fursuit in your fursuit coat, you're gonna have a bad time.
What's that?
So you are going to
You have bad day.
Yes.
Bad day.
if you have long hair or unruly hair, I have both. Get yourself one of these. It's called a skull cap. This is obviously an Under Armour brand one. I got this on clearance for about $10. They run about $10, $15. I got this my first year as the Easter Bunny. It is a lifesaver. It keeps the hair out of your eyes.
Keeps the sweat for the most part.
Yes, it does absorb the sweat. That's probably why I need to walk because rather than the if for some reason you cannot get your hands on one of these, a bandana tied around your head works.
Or a balaclava.
Yeah, that too. Balaclava also works as well.
Then we had a suitor running around here earlier where it was just a body and a camel balaclava.
Yep.
There was several.
Yes. So obviously that's one thing. If you have long hair, just get a pack. Especially if you're like me, who's prone to losing things, just get a pack of hair ties, throw them in your fursuit tote, and leave them there. Every time you open that tote, you'll be like, oh, all right, a hair tie. Tie it back, and if you lose that by the end of the day, that's okay. You still have the rest of the pack.
It not only keeps yourself from, it helps keep you cool, but as well as keeps your sanity a little bit more so because there's nothing more frustrating than having your suit be like this.
Yeah, it's hair in your eyes, hair in your mouth.
Hair all around your neck being plastered.
Especially with your glasses. How about suiting with glasses?
Well, that's a good point. Suiting with glasses.
All that goes back to the sweat thing because if you can keep your sweat off your glasses, you'll be able to see a lot better. Keep your sweat on your eyes, things like that. That's more of a ventilation thing, not more of a construction.
That's true. But I have heard I don't know. I haven't personally because I haven't really worn glasses in suit.
I haven't found any anti-fog thing that works properly because you have a lot of humidity in your head, and a lot of the anti-fog stuff is, ironically, water soluble. And so the hydration eventually melts it all off, and going from a really warm room to cold outside to cool off feels great here, but the moment you step outside, you go blind.
So, aside from that, this is also obviously more of a care thing, but always keep a fursuit brush, or if you're like me, keep 2 in your fursuit tote. What's that?
I was going to pull one out, but it's upstairs.
Okay. Yeah, I personally have 2 of them. One that I use when I have more time to brush out the suit, and one for quick self-brushing jobs. One is called the slicker brush. They're just very fine. You got very fine.
Also has pet brushes.
Yes, pet brushes. Basically, go to the pet aisle and get a couple doggy brushes. If you see one that's a slicker brush, that really smooths this out well. I also have a 2-sided one. One has metal. I want to say tines. I don't know if that's the proper word, but I'm going to go with that. And then the other one's just regular bristles. So I can use both sides to get out the mats and then flip it over and smooth it out a little bit more, which is good for quick jobs, on the run.
A lot of this is usually the really high friction areas, so armpits, butts, in between the legs, base of the tail where it rubs back and forth. The friction is also another thing that will eat away and destroy fursuits because the fur fibers will eventually get so matted up and clumped together that they'll start to fuse together and become really gross. But if you're brushing, hi! That was really
Yes, question.
I had a question, because some fursuits with age, it starts getting kind of a little nappy. You can tell that it's starting to show age. Is there actually something that you can add to it to condition the fur?
There's a spray conditioner that you can mix a little bit in with water that it'll help the frizz keep down. But the problem is with the plastic fiber getting kind of that nappy, it's the fiber is starting to get split ends, and there's no repair.
So if you keep conditioning, like when you get it, you're probably able to keep it better condition.
My best example is actually camping right now. A gentleman that I know owns a suit that is about 8 years old that was taking care of it very well, and it's starting to get that nappy appearance. But if you brush the areas that are very high traffic areas, it will help the fur fibers keep flowing in one direction, everything else, keeping it from fusing together and becoming this nasty, ball, pilly, mat of grossness. Now, if you do happen to have something like that happening, you can actually wash the suit, and while it's underneath the water, you can take like a fine-tooth comb or something with a little bit wider teeth, and you can work on the fibers just a little bit at a time, not pulling and jerking because that'll rip the hair out. You want to just coax it from the outer edges inward until you have the fur nice and smooth again. And then you can continue washing it the rest of the way.
And while we're kind of briefly foraying into fursuit care, since obviously it's part of the fursuit tote, always hang it up to dry, either with a fan or at least air drying for an amount of time. I know one fursuiter who packed her fursuit away while it was still damp, put it in her fursuit tote, forgot about it. A month later she opened up, there was fungus growing on her fursuit.
Black mold will happily grow on fursuits.
Yes, lots of warm, sweaty, humid environment, plenty of growth of black mold.
Bacteria,
Yes.
all this other disgusting,
Yeah.
lovely stuff. Once bacteria and mold starts growing in your fursuit, that's another killer, especially in fursuit heads. You do not want any kind of fungus against your face because it's very detrimental to your own health and potentially others around you.
I don't think if there's anything else.
So if you have to, don't let it crumble up on the floor. Turn it inside out so it can dry out the best. Hang it up. In the morning, turn it back inside out. Brush it down. A fursuit cleaner spray can be as simple as rubbing alcohol and water 50-50 mix in a spray bottle. Spray down the suit. You brush it out. You let it dry. Spray down the inside. I've been doing that for about 4 years now, and I haven't had a problem yet.
Yes.
One comment I want to make, I notice a lot of people, they like douse everything with grease. That's actually, it covers everything up and it clogs the pores inside of the material, and you end up with like a stain over time because they're just covering it up instead of,
Yeah,
cleaning it out.
that and there's also a product called head back. We had used it for the Easter Bunny's head when I worked for the Easter Bunny. It actually says on the bottle, not for use on clothing. And I know people use it, some people use Lysol, same thing, but generally, I have heard 70-30 is also is a good deodorizing for rubbing alcohol, and they actually come
Like 70 alcohol?
free. You can actually buy them pre-mixed. If you go to the pharmacy section of a grocery store, it'll say, rubbing alcohol, because people use it on cuts and all that stuff. And you just put some essential oils, and if money, eventually these days money is literally going to smell like money, because they found essential oils that smell.
So
Someday.
another cleaner that I've tried out most recently is called Odoban. You want to dilute it down a lot because it smells like eucalyptus and you'll end up smelling like the bottom of a koala bear. It's like strong. But it has gotten rid of the strongest smelling body odor I've found. It's not my choice of use of cleaner, but at the moment it's been working out really well so far. You want to avoid things like Lysol though, because Lysol is mostly just one of those spray cleaner things that it'll go onto the backing of the suit, it'll dry, and the moment you put that suit back on and you start sweating in it, your sweat will reactivate all of those chemicals and you're going to be absorbing it into your body. And those chemicals are not meant for human consumption in any shape, form, or way.
And again, it's probably not, they'll probably say not for use on clothing.
I had a friend of mine
Anything that has like a long-term disinfecting, really long-acting fragrance, it basically leaves itself on there and continues the fragrance, and you'll absorb that right in.
I had a friend of mine who actually had a fursuit. This was back before everybody would wash their suits, back before, because a lot of people were worried that the fursuits would fall apart. She would only use Lysol on her fursuits. And she would spray it down, she'd let it dry, go about suiting. About half a year after owning the suit, year after owning the suit, she started realizing that she would start to feel sick when she was in suit. Like she would be dizzy, she'd be nauseous, all this other stuff. She didn't understand why she was getting really confused. And then one day she picked up her fursuit and her fursuit just kind of disintegrated, chunks of it in her hands. The backing had been worn away, eaten away by the Lysol. She gets a new bodysuit, doesn't use the Lysol at all, and she immediately starts feeling better. It had been all of the Lysol that built up on her fursuit that not only ate away and destroyed her suit, but it made her sick. And it was continually making her sick.
Now, for some reason, those of you that have been to the Healthy Sound and you like were wondering why there's Lysol wipes back there, those are not for your fursuit heads.
That's
Those
for the
are for the
headstand.
head tree. Those are for the head tree. So you wipe down the head tree, put your, put your head on there, and then take it off.
Wipe it off, stick your head on. It helps keep the bacteria down as well as cotton thread. We are all people from very different places. We all have different germs and cooties and all that other stuff. Some of our germs are not compatible with other germs, and if you happen to have the sniffles, you might accidentally transfer those sniffles to somebody else.
Cotton crud is not gone. Okay, so I think that covers that pretty well. What's that? What?
Having a repair kit.
Oh yes, good point. A repair kit. Very good thing you reminded me.
Fursuits are just like any other piece of article of clothing. You have to break them in, everything else, things like that. It's just a cloth backing. When you first get it, that cloth backing does need to break in, stretch out, things like that. Just like a brand new pair of like shoes or jeans. There's going to be a time where you can't quite do this in your jeans without it really getting tight right here. And after breaking it in a while, you can do whatever. Same thing with fursuits. If a seam pops, it's better to have it pop at the seam rather than the fabric tearing. So take some time breaking your fursuit, and if the seam pops, have a needle and thread in your suit kit repair kit, so you can just whip stitch it shut. Another couple things to have in your repair kit: hot glue, glue gun, things like that. Or if, say, you have your foot paw decides to try to come off,
Yes.
you want to have E6000 repair kit.
Another thing is just to have safety pins. This is especially helpful my first convention was MFF 2011. That was also the first convention I first started in with money. The bottom of the zipper broke. And I never heard of anything like that. That's partly why this zipper is visible. That's partly why it's visible, because I watched the zipper job and really need to get that fixed. Although I think money was overdue for a new bodysuit. It's about 5 years old, so it might be up time for another one. Well, yeah, safety pins. And I kid you not, stapler. A mini stapler with staples. If you're really in a rush, you don't have time to sew something, staple it. It makes a temporary thing until you can get out of it.
Staple what?
Staple, like, if you're seam pops, you staple the suit together. I'm not stapling close to skin, okay? I'm not that crazy.
Oh!
Yes, you make yourself permanently attached to the suit.
I just feel like
I'm just sitting here going, you bend that seam too much and it bends the prong out, and next bend you go and you snap it like, ah!
That's why I say mini stapler. So I'm not taking a staple gun. I'm not a staple.
I have to see mini stapler.
Yeah, I've seen them like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I said, that's really only for like extreme like emergencies.
Absolute temporary.
emergencies.
You popped your crotch and you need to waddle back like this.
Yes. That's pretty much what it is for.
Okay.
If there's anything else.
Clarifying now for others.
I would say like a buttons would.
Especially a public store or anything like that, without calling ahead first. There's a lot of places that do not allow face-on masks, and if you happen to get in trouble, you could potentially have the cops call.
Yes.
Always call ahead first, always go in groups, and always have a person with their face showing that can actually speak to people.
Exactly.
And also see everyone around you.
Yes.
Somebody can see your eyes, be seeing eye person.
Exactly. Now, generally, like, now there might be some people who are like, okay, well, where could I go first off from I just got this fursuit and I want to run around in it. Where can I go? Most places, most public parks, you get, a few people look at it and be like, oh, that's unusual, a giant dog is on the swings. Okay. But you generally don't run into a lot of troubles with that. One of the biggest needs here in Grand Rapids is for an event called Art Prize. It's basically this big international art competition. All of downtown Grand Rapids becomes a giant art gallery. And it is, there's visitors from all over the world that come see all this art, and it is perfect for fursuiting. Except for last year because it was really warm. But most of the time, it's really, a lot of people get a kick out of it. Like, we have people, we've had what I call photo traps, where it's literally like, oh, like, maybe like, Sharpe and I are, fursuiting, and somebody comes and is like, oh, hey, your costumes are cute, can I get a picture? We're like, okay. We go like this. As soon as that person's done, 10 more people are like, oh, look at that! And they start pulling out pictures, and then we're stuck like this for 5 minutes. It's like, okay.
Comfy pose.
It's like, yes,
Don't be like,
yes. If you suspect that you're being dragged into a photo trap, do something, like this, comfortable pose that you can hold for quite some time. Now, this is also where having a handler is helpful, because if it has been 5 minutes and there are still people talking, someone can be like, okay, sorry, the animal's got to keep going now, there's more stuff to see.
because the more you stand around, the warmer you're going to get. You can actually move and get air circulated through your suit, through your body, through your padding, through your head. The cooler you'll be, because this stuff, it will breathe. It'll trap heat, but it'll also breathe.
Yeah, some of the worst things you do is stand around.
Exactly.
Then you're just standing up.
Yes, and again, if you're not sure, call ahead and ask. Be like, hey, we saw, a lot of people who might be outside the fandom and don't know about fursuiting, or maybe don't know it exists or aren't sure about it. Generally, we say, hi, we're freelance. We used to say freelance mascots. Thanks to the first one on Hardcore Pop for coming up with that term, because I've used it many a time now. Just saying, we're freelance mascots, and we have our own animal costumes. Is it okay if we wear them? Now, I know most malls, unless they have a special like Halloween event, will say no. Like, I have heard of malls that, like, specifically for Halloween, basically anytime Halloween, you're more or less fair game for costumes unless there's a specific limitation, like only children and students are allowed.
The best way to handle going to a store in suit is call ahead a couple days beforehand, call ahead again that day, show up an hour before out of suit to address, hey, we're just double checking with the manager on site, is this still okay? And if they give you the green light, go for it, be respectful. Don't be like, let people come up to you. Don't be like, hi! It really puts people off very quickly, especially if they're kind of hesitant. If you think somebody is questioning, just stand there, wave hi, let them come to you. Because if you're coming to them, you might be getting too close and already be within their personal space. And
Another flight happens.
yeah.
That's why one of my mottos whenever I tell people, whenever I give talks like this, or especially when people train people with Easter Bunny, distance is your friend. Because with distance, obviously, and as you mentioned, let them come to you. I always do the 4 things I do. First thing, you see a person, you wave at them. If they wave back, cool, you can move on. If they ignore you or give you the finger, move on to another person. That happened on the way to Crankers today. I waved in a car, the person flipped me off. But anyway, let's say, okay, you wave to them, and maybe it's a child. Oh, and they, they're excited, it's a big puppy dog. And as we mentioned with children, you get down their level. You are less threatening when you are at their level than if you are a towering giant dog. And if for some reason you get to their level and they're still unsure about this, go even lower. dog. Or however you feel your character would do. But in any case, you get to their level, hand out like this, or a high five. There's still a bit of distance. If they're unsure, then you be patient. If they decide just to walk away, then
Yes.
What do you do if a parent wants to take a picture of you holding their child?
So depends.
If the child is old enough to stand, you
Yes.
crouch down. If
Or
they're
they
too
want you to
young,
hold it?
if you are too young, you decline. You will go up to them. If they go to hand you the child, be like, I'm sorry, I don't feel comfortable enough. My dexterity.
Or you're just like, or how about you hold the child?
Yeah. Well, I will say there was one exception to this, but this is kind of a different circumstance. When I was in Easter Bunny, I had to hold infants as young as 3 weeks. Now, if for some reason they are insisting that you hold the child, and one, you should walk away before that. But I always do couple things. One, sit down, because if you accidentally, you don't want any babies dropping, and if you're sitting down, frankly it's less than a distance. Two, have your arms cradle like this. Three, let the parent put the child in your arms, and then they take a picture. Wait for the parent to take the child out. Just, stay still with the arms, and after a while, if you're holding it like this, it does get a little tiring. I speak from experience on this, but honestly, and if you are just out and about and somebody asks you to hold a child, just politely stay out. Just because there's too much liability. When it's a professional gig like being an Easter Bunny, there's different rules at play. But when you're freelance, you're out there, you're technically a freelance mascot. You are completely at risk if it's someone's insists on doing it. You're better off just walking away at that point.
A little thing a Disney performer taught me once is if you crouch down and a child gives you the hug, let them let go first, because you don't know how long they need that. You don't know the child's situation. If they really need an embracing hug and they don't get one very often, let them let go of you first. I never had even thought about that beforehand, and there was one little child that came up and gave me a hug, and I just sat there and I kept holding, and the child started crying because they never really had a really embracing hug. Let them let go first.
And we did mention this before. If they do go for a hug and they do want to take a picture and they are standing, hands are always in view, always visible. Generally shoulders are a safe place, but just kind of upper part of the body.
My safest pose, I go down on one knee, child stands here or here, and my hands are out like this. I'm like, yeah, hey, look at this person, look how amazing they are.
Look at where my hands are.
Look at where my hands are. Yes, hands.
Yeah,
not even touching the child.
Yes.
But there's still an element of common sense. Just because your hands are visible doesn't mean it's not creepy. That's the real life.
Speaking of all Thomas.
Vocalize. Talk, say hi, or make some sort of happy sound.
Older kids, you can
Or
mess
act
with them.
nervous.
Oh yeah, that's actually another good point. Matching energy is a extremely good skill to learn. Just practice with a friend. If a friend's excited, you act excited. Practice with other people, your friends, your family, inanimate objects. That one's a long story. Matching energy is an extremely good tool. If a child comes up to you and they're excited to see you, you act excited to see them. If they're a little timid, you act the same way. And in that way, they can, sometimes the kids will not come up to you. Sometimes they will eventually be like, oh, it's okay. The greatest feeling in the world, whenever I first do, whether it's doing this or suiting as bunny or when I'm Easter bunny, is seeing a kid who is at first scared of this strange giant animal come up to me and leave excited or just, the biggest compliment I got this year when I was the Easter Bunny was my manager said a lot of kids thought they were the real Easter Bunny. And that is, like I said, that's the biggest compliment I could ever have, just because having that awe and wonder that attracted us to the fandom about animals that can move around and do human things. Sometimes they talk, sometimes they just make noise. If you're the Easter Bunny, you don't talk for a variety of reasons. But
two things that I know scare a child most are your size and teeth, of all things. If you have to, look away. Like if you are crouched down, pull a How to Train Your Dragon. Let your hand out, turn your head away, and let the child come to you. If you're still scary or if they're still scared, they won't come. Because forcing yourself upon them will only make the situation worse.
yes.
And one moment a parent might be laughing if they're the little kid going, but if the child starts screaming, the parent can flip on you and guess who's going to be prey.
A word on prey. It's important I think we touched on this. It is important to have a handler or somebody who's not in suit with you, who's kind of tending to you, not just for the obvious, watching so you don't get eaten from the die, which is important, obviously, but also to make sure that kids, especially around the ages of about this tall, tend to kind of group together and form these little packs that like to distract you and pull you while the others pull your tail off. Or try to pull your tail off.
Who here has public suited before? Who here's public suited around the pack of children we're referring to? Probably.
Yeah, I would recommend if you suit at a school event to have a school staff member with you at all times, because the kids will rip your tails off.
Always be in an open area.
Yes.
Be suiting with multiple suitors, so you're not just pack of hyenas descending on a little baby gazelle kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because little children, up on their own, if they're about yay tall and up, if they're up on their own, they're pretty easy to manage. If they're a group of them,
They start getting quite brave.
they become evil little.
Babies.
We'll use that one.
Bundles of joy. Bundles of joy. Evil little
Wonderful
bundles of joy.
special snowflakes. And if you do happen to have a pack of them, if you are a non-speaking suitor, don't feel afraid to break the magic. But if you really have to, just hold the base of your tail, walk away. Ignore them, get away from them.
Find an adult.
Yes, this is.
Find an adult that'll do something about it,
I
because
need an
sometimes
adult.
the parents are instigators.
Yes.
I think it was at MFF a couple years ago. I think there was a couple small kids that would like tear up people's tails and stuff.
Oh gosh.
I remember
I forgot their names.
Oh.
It was like these two kids that were actually these little kids got banned from MFF.
And this is especially important if you are a handler, pay attention to your suitor. I will tell you a story about that. It was my first year as the Easter Bunny. It was late. It was I think we were literally 5 minutes from closing. It's like, okay, great. I've been in this costume for 3.5 hours. Ready to go. I'm ready to go home. Last family comes in. One dad, 4 kids. Normally, at our set for the Easter Bunny, there are 2 people there. One for crowd control, one to man the camera and do purchases and stuff. Unfortunately, our second person got left early because we thought we would be very slow and wouldn't get anybody else. This was a big mistake because whilst the dad was haggling with actually our manager about package pricing and so on and so forth, all 4 kids proceeded to kick me in the shins over and over and over. Unfortunately, I tried, to wave down my manager, Kristen, who is, she's an amazing person to work with, but she was dealing with this guy who was basically trying to get more. We were glad when he left because it was 5 minutes after we were supposed to close. I now get a almost like Vietnam War, almost like war flashbacks. Whenever like if I see a kid, it actually happened once. Like a couple of kids came up and we just started laughing like the evil laugh, and my immediately thought was, oh God, protect the shits.
Whatever you do, though, do never strike.
No.
You can
Never.
block, but never strike. Let anybody else handle the situation. You yourself remove yourself from the area. However, though, don't let these horror stories scare you out of not actually suiting the public or offering yourself for public events. There was the event that I went to 2008 or 2009 in the older version of Trooper for a dairy event. It was the drugs, defense against drugs.
Yes, drug abuse resistance education.
That. And there was a bunch of kids there, I'm talking like 600 fifth graders. And for the most part, everything was very well managed. And there was one particular girl there that had cerebral palsy. She hadn't smiled for weeks, she hadn't laughed for months. And I stepped over to her and I gave my hand out. And didn't really look at me, but she started feeling the arm, feeling the hand paw. I crouched down, she started feeling the nose and feeling the face. Within about 10 minutes or so, we were all crying and she was laughing. So you never know whose life you're going to change. You never know what smile, what hug, what moment is needed for somebody else. That's probably one of the coolest things about being a fursuit wearer, fursuit performer, is we are going out, we are sacrificing ourselves to make somebody else smile. If you make at least one person smile or laugh on your outing, then you've done your job for the day.
I want to briefly mention before we move on to our next topic. All the things we talked about regarding interacting with children and stuff also applies to drunk people. Grand Rapids,
Surprisingly
Red
similar,
Bears,
except they are
very
bigger
similar.
and taller.
Grand Rapids has been, very accepting of fursuits whenever we're downtown. People either like want to take pictures with us, or they just keep walking by and just like. The only issues we have had have been with drunk people. Now, there may be some, and I say interesting encounters. I've had one encounter where a drunk woman came up to me while I was in suit asking me if I had weed. And there has been one. What?
Your name is money.
But no, I didn't have it was for Halloween, so I didn't have like the tax or anything. But what's that? Yeah, that was when I first started. But there has been one time where it actually happened to Lambert. A couple of drunk women were trying to see who was inside the suit, almost ripped his head in half. Thankfully, Paladin was there to stop them from doing any damage. But again, this is where, like, if you are a handler, please do pay attention to, the nearest fursuit entry. So just keep, one eye on the fursuit if you're walking around.
Sometimes dealing with the drunk, the best word and action is to say the word no very loudly.
Yes.
Most times that'll get through to them. Anything after that, it's up to your discretion.
Yes.
That actually happened to me at a music festival downtown a few years ago.
Oh, was that City Lights?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was wearing my fursuit, and I've had drunkards come up to me wanting to wear my hat, shave. But then, like, if I go up to, like, where the front row music is, I've had people tug on my tail and try to rip my hat off.
I've had people tug on my tail and I got this little rowdy stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing-
Like, you can feel
yeah.
it's like this, if you yank, you look back.
Well, you have to bend down to pick it up.
Ooh. Yeah. That's nice. So,
But, I mean, there are these rare occasions that you do need to be prepared for. But usually, for the most part, it's just, oh, if I only had $1 for every time someone asked me what the box said.
I've had people think I was a fox. Well, most probably bear, but this past Halloween, I went to a costume contest in the casino over there. And the first thing I was signing in, the first thing out of the guy's mouth is, oh, so where do you, a fox? It's like, I have the floppy ears and I bark. I'm a dog.
Quote unquote, always stay alert in person. always be aware of your surroundings. If you can, walk around the area before you get in your suit, so you know the layout, you understand where the branches are going to be or where the steps are going to be, because you never know what might come while you're suiting. Yes.
In a busy area and such, when there's streets and sidewalks and a bunch of people and cars around, don't go out and shoot unless you have a handler.
Yes.
I don't care how good your sight is, don't go out without a handler.
Yeah. Because no matter
I've done
how
once
good you are
without a
with your
handler,
suit,
I will not do it again.
Yeah.
Not because something bad happened or that I was in an unfamiliar place. I just felt better if I was not alone.
handlers have peripheral vision as well as everything right
It's much
here.
easier to portray a character when you're not also trying to mind all of your surroundings, where the traffic is,
Where
are
this-
the little
where the
kids
curve
pulling
is.
your tail. It's much easier to put on a character performance when you have a handler there backing you up.
All right, any questions before we move on?
You guys are so quiet. What the heck?
Well,
You explain things very well.
that's good. We tried.
Oh, I have a question.
Okay.
What did the maker say it was like?
I don't know what did they
You got what I need.
Up stage. You've been muzzled. All right. So we covered public suiting. Now we're going to come to the second part. 5 minutes. Okay, thank you. We're going to go to the next one, suiting for profit. Basically, your professional gigs. Now, as I mentioned before, I've gone 3 years as a Easter Bunny. I lucked out because I found the job on Craigslist. I will tell you, the company that I personally work with, Worldwide Photography, they work with various malls. I personally work with Rivertown Crossings. If you are interested in suiting for getting paid to suit, Easter Bunny is a good stepping stone, especially since it looks good if you want to move on to like bigger mascot things like working for Disney or working on a cruise line with mascots.
Working
Because
for sports teams?
yes, I will say this: when you are looking, pay attention to the details. I used to work in an amusement park down in Sandusky, Ohio, Cedar Point. You probably might have heard of it. I could not be any of the Peanuts characters because I am too tall. The minimum and maximum height to be Snoopy or Charlie Brown or any of the characters, 4'11" to 5'2".
Aki, we can totally do it.
Yes, no. I can't remember what it was what I paid, but I mean I can't sue. I could be a handler, but I could not be in costume. Special. Yes, I forget exactly what. I can use the term escort, but I know with Disney especially, they'll take a lot of different heights, but your height will determine which characters you play. Yes. And your weight too. Universal Studios, I looked this up. They actually have fitness requirements for their costume characters. I believe it is something I actually just looked up before I came here. Depending on your age, some things are different requirements. Like for my age group, which is between 20 and 29, I have to do 36 push-ups.
Oh, it's an impulse.
What's that?
The impulse fitness. So many push-ups, so many sit-ups, have to jump so high, have to run so far.
Yeah, and also hold the plank for 60 seconds. Yeah, so again, looking into those kind of things before you decide, looking at, going to, if you want to go for a cruise ship, because I understand Royal Caribbean, they have DreamWorks characters, so like Shrek, Madagascar, all of those characters. I believe Norwegian has Nickelodeon characters. Cruise contracts can be, you might be stuck on a boat for 6 months. It depends, if you want to be out to sea that long, more power to you. Okay, so that's basic, the ones that we know about. They're pretty similar. Sports gigs. I know for sure that for minor league baseball, they do all their mascot hiring at their winter meeting, which I believe this year is January of 2016, and it's down in Memphis, Tennessee. Actually, I take that back. I think it's in December. Again, this goes back to looking at your looking at searching sports mascot jobs. I know I follow at least one Facebook page dedicated to that. Obviously keeping your eyes and ears out. Sometimes even like, because we have a minor league team here, asking, hey, are you looking for a mascot? Or if they say no, then, obviously say, hey, I'm interested, maybe leave your information. I know we just got a developmental basketball league. I don't know if they have a mascot. I am thinking basketball league, but
We're kind of short on time. Who here has a monster suit, monster character, something kind of undead, or they're planning on doing something like that specifically for Halloween? Anybody wanting to work for a haunted house someday as well? See, some hands. So a lot of with the monsters that are in there, you're going to focus more on the predatory aspect. You're going to want to be thinking, you're going to want to watch wolves hunt, coyotes hunt, felines, big cats, small cats, any kind of predatory animal. You're going to want to look into the mannerisms, how they move, how do they watch their prey, what is their usual idle positions. If they are just some creature, a living creature, how do they, what do they first do when they first see something they're going to be preying? So take for an example, you're a chained animal in a haunted house kind of thing, and you've been sitting in this corner and you see your first victims. Obviously, you're going to be going from an idle position of whatever it is, on all fours, on all twos, whatever the species or character is. And obviously, you're going to be wanting to do fairly fluid motion. But if you can, you're going to want to do your movements from your shoulders, and let your lower arms do a lot of the movement. Let your shoulders do a lot of the movement. Let your lower half be just kind of like the balancing points. Because if you're a quadrupedal animal that can raise up like a bear, you're going to want to be, moving around. Let your body respond to how you move. If you're in a darkened area where you can't see, one trick is you're going to want your foot on like an X marker. So wherever it is, if you can't see, but you know you can move in this general vicinity without hitting something, you're going to want to keep that foot planted while you move around. If you need to shift, swap your feet. Put that right foot on that X. Always keep within those bounds. That way you'll keep your handlers safe, you'll keep the pedestrians safe, and you keep yourself safe. Because there's always that general boundary. If you're a wandering character, say if you're wandering through the lines or something like that, you don't want to do these huge, big motions. Because you don't know if you're going to clothesline somebody. Or Jason's grandma. Do this and worst noise ever if it's connecting with something. If it's not connecting with something, great. It means you did your job. But if you feel a full as that scream comes, you're in trouble. And potentially a lawsuit. So if you're going through a crowd, you want to keep your hands more into you and kind of tucked up in. So you have control of your movements. Let that head be your level balancing point. If anybody's ever watched a cheetah run, their head is perfectly level while their body is doing this behind them. So if you can, practice in front of a mirror and just let your head be fairly stationary and just move it because you're staying on contact with that one point. Now if you're something undead or reanimated or a zombie or something, you're gonna have those jerks and twerks and you just woke up after a 5-year nap kind of thing. Hangover.
A dirt nap.
So everything is gonna. Who here has done something really hard and then woke up in the morning absolutely stiff, joints creaking, things like that? How did you feel? Actually, Axel, come here. Show me how you felt. How did you normally feel?
hard muscle.
You're gonna keep your body fairly.
You feel like you're full of concrete.
Yeah, your feet might be a little heavy. You need to drag more a little bit. But keep your joints stiff. If you do a little pop and lock kind of dance thing, it'll really prepare you for it. We know we did something similar, kind of like all this, on the set of Dogman 2 at the Litter a couple years ago up in Traverse City. We had 6 characters stilted, blind,
Oh, I think I've heard this story.
running through the woods at night on stilts. It was great. Our boys were troopers though. But we were out there and we were teaching these guys, okay, I'm on stilts, great. Okay, I'm moving my body, cool. I have to do what? So you always want to be prepared, whatever gig you're going into. You always want to be prepared for the endurance, the injuries that might follow, and any conditions, whether it's raining or things like that. You always want to be well prepared.
We are actually running over time now, so we do thank you guys for coming out. If you have any more questions, just reach out to either of us. Since closing ceremonies will be starting very soon, we do ask that you guys help out. Bring the chairs, set them up in rows over here. Just stay back where it was. And thank you guys for coming. We hope you enjoyed.